Hi, welcome to the Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jenelle Riley from Variety. The Foundation has set up a COVID relief fund in order to support thousands of union performers who are currently going through tough times. Since March of 2020, thanks to your donations, the Foundation has given nearly $7 million in emergency aid to more than 7,000 performers and their families. If you are a SAG-AFTRA member and you need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest, currently starring in Apple TV Plus's Ted Lasso. Please welcome Juno Temple. Hello.
Hi, how gorgeous to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being here. It is such a thrill. You are here with an audience of SAG-AFTRA actors watching this. So I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
Oh, it was quite a long time ago now. I remember I must have been about 18-ish at the time. So I think it was around, I was in a film called Year One. It may have been around that sort of time. Wild Child, Year One sort of time. But it's very cool to be doing a conversation for SAG because it just means you're talking to the people that inspired you to do what you do, and hopefully people that are wanting to do what you do, right? So it's a pretty cool thing to be doing.
I mean, you started acting at such a young age. You first appeared in your father's films, but when did you know this was something you wanted to keep doing, like as a career?
So actually, I have a vivid memory of being about 4 years old, and I had really bad chicken pox. Like, couldn't think about anything else, enraged by these chicken pox. And my dad at the time had a Laserdisc machine with a big projector, and my parents were living in LA, and I was driving them crazy with my chicken pox. I remember what I was wearing. I was wearing this blue corduroy dress with a red trim, and he put on Jean Cocteau's La Belle et la Bête on Laserdisc for me. And I forgot I had chicken pox. And I remember watching this and genuinely thinking, I knew it. I knew that magic was real. I knew it. And so that was the first time that I properly have a vivid memory of film genuinely taking me out of my own existence in a way that I forgot about chickenpox. And I was transported into a universe that saved my day, and I remember thinking it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. And so that was a pivotal moment for me. It was about 14 when I told my parents that it was something I actually really wanted to do as a career. And that was inspired by Thelma and Louise was a big part of my life, a huge part. And I'm lucky enough, Callie Curry is actually my godmother. So I was introduced to that film at a very early age. And I just think it's an important film to show anyone, but especially a young woman, as they're entering into the potential moments of teen years where things get tougher, to just remind you to always support your girlfriends. Always encourage them to be exactly who they are because they're perfect that way. And also Heavenly Creatures, Kate Winslet, her performance in that, I just still to this day, I slightly speechless. So 14 was when I knew I wanted to do it and said to my parents, hey guys, so I think I want to do this. And I'm not going to lie, they were both like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because it's tough. You're going to be told this, you're going to be told you're not that, you're not this, you're not that, you're not this, you're not that. A lot of waiting around, it is true. You do get told no, and you do get your heart broken, especially when you really care about parts that you really fight for and you really want and you believe you need to do. But the extraordinary thing about being an actor and really loving film is every time you haven't gotten a part and you watch the film, it completely makes sense as to why. Because for some reason, the person they cast is exactly how that part was supposed to be played. Because you're stepping into a universe that is being created by a director or a showrunner or, who the visionary behind the project. And like, for example, Alice in Wonderland was something I sleep with an original copy of it by my bed. First edition. I love that. I love that book. And I'd always thought, God, how cool would it be if Tim Burton made Alice in Wonderland? And God, I would love to be Alice. That moment came around, and I remember my agent calling me saying, "Are you sitting down?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" He was like, "So unfortunately, Tim doesn't actually want to see you for Alice because he doesn't think you're right for it." And I was obviously devastated. But then I watched the film, and first and foremost, Mia Wasikowska is one of my favorite actresses working today. I think she is truly extraordinary and has a quality of convincing you that she is somebody else in a way that is quite mind-blowing. But watching that film, I was like, oh yeah, I already belong down the rabbit hole. I'm not Alice, obviously. You know what I mean? And so I learned that I was 17 years old, and that was a very early lesson to learn, that actually every part comes your way, because in some weird alternate universe, a little bit of you could be them, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, that is such a healthy attitude. And I'm impressed that you developed that as young as 17, because I think it takes people sometimes decades to figure that out.
Yeah, well, I think it's useless to be too competitive about it, because there are so many people who are doing incredible performances at all different ages that we can constantly, if we're closed off and competitive and weird about it, then we don't learn from it. And acting is about, one of the great joys of it is that it's a constant state of learning, right? There's never enough knowledge to be gained to be an actor. The more you know, the more you can use. So I think that's an important thing.
I also want to point out how much classier you are than I, that you were inspired at the age of 4 by such an iconic movie, whereas like, for me, it was like Nightmare on Elm Street, I think.
I mean, I love that movie too. A Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, is one of my favorite films of all time. I think it is truly a flawless movie that somehow ends with, a man wearing somebody else's face and a chainsaw with his thigh cut and a butcher's apron, dancing in Texas sunset, and it's one of the most upsetting yet beautiful endings to a movie of all time. So, I'm a big film buff. Jean Cocteau, that was due to my father, who is an extraordinary man and shaped my life in such a monumental way, and has definitely, showed me a lot of Powell and Pressburger and Hitchcock and Cocteau when I was a very little girl. A lot of Tex Avery cartoons as well, too.
So Cocteau and Leatherface, hand in hand, have been huge influences.
I would have a great dinner party. Wouldn't you want to be at my dinner party?
So currently you're starring on Ted Lasso, which has become everyone's obsession over the last year. And your character, Keeley, is such a joyous fan favorite. I'm curious how the script found its way to you, and what were sort of your initial impressions of the show and the role of Keeley?
Okay, well, so I knew Jason a little bit for a couple of years before the show came into my universe. And so actually he personally texted me, he reached out to me. And I kid you not, I thought he had made a mistake, because first thing, if anyone has seen anything I'm in, I'm not known for comedy. I would say I'm definitely known for taking the more dramatic, dark, harrowing characters. I've definitely not thought of myself as a comedic actress ever. So I did sort of get this text message from him and think, oh boy. Okay, well, you know what? If you text the wrong person, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And he didn't. He texted me on purpose and asked me if I would like to read this pilot, which I was like, are you kidding me? It would be my pleasure. And then he said, and if you like it, let's talk about it. And I loved it. And so we ended up sitting down and talking about it. And it was truly magic watching him talk about Ted Lasso and how much it meant to him personally, and how important it was that these characters surprised everybody, and how that the story of season 1, and he has the whole season, 3 seasons mapped out in his head at this point. We didn't know we were going to get to do that, but he really knew these journeys that these characters were going to go on, and that each one was going to surprise you by the end. And you see that just in season 1. So imagine how joyous it's going to be to see in an arc of 3 seasons, and he told me a little bit about what was going to happen with Keely, and about this kind of really brilliant love triangle, and how she had a real insight into these men and what they project, but she could see also what was going on maybe on the actual rolls of film to what was hitting the projector screen, and that she really saw the best in people and wanted to help encourage them to see that and embrace that. And then he talked about this relationship between Rebecca and Keely, which was one that really turned me on, because it is so rare that you see 2 women in anything where they are genuinely just encouraging, supporting, and loving one another. It's not competitive. It's not about one-upping one another. It is genuinely about loving each other as proper girlfriends, and as women should these days, because it's hard. It's really hard. And they are women that are going through different moments in their lives. They're different ages. They're at different stages, yet they both open each other's eyes to things that had maybe been closed off in themselves or had never been opened before, and really help each other spread their wings in new ways. And that was something that really excited me.
I mean, Keely is a character who so subverts our expectations from the beginning. We know she's nice, but she turns out to be so clever, such a feminist, such a good person. It's interesting to me that he sort of gave you all that up front, but still, when you're getting scripts, are you surprised by how many dimensions she took on?
Oh, completely. And I, when I say he told me about the love triangle and told me actually to watch that film Bull Durham, which I'd never seen. And that was kind of an interesting insight into, that kind of love triangle. And I loved that film. And then he just told me about Rebecca and Keely, and Rebecca being a character that was going to come into Keely's life. And maybe Keely hadn't had a lot of girlfriends before. Women had maybe written her off as one thing. And ultimately that was going to be a very important relationship as kind of like a tour de force in Keely's life, and helping show Keely that she's more than just tits and ass. So, but I'm constantly surprised. I'm amazed by every episode I read, the intricacy of the writing, the brilliance of the writing, and then getting to bring these scenes alive with this extraordinary cast of people that are so present and so alive in the moment. Because acting's all about reacting. And so when you get people that are just, I don't know, you forget cameras are rolling. And I've never had that on a TV thing before, really. I mean, they have sometimes, but this is, it's new to me. I've never come back to playing a character for a second time. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am for it. Because first and foremost, in the time that we've been living in, which is just, it's been a time of tragedy. I don't know what other word to use for it, really. Keely has really helped my mental health. And I feel truly grateful to have her in my life.
I love that you point out acting is reacting, because 2 of my favorite moments from the first season are just Keely's reactions. One is when she sees herself on screen at the hotel and doesn't remember recording this video. Just the way she's looking at herself. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that moment. Yeah.
And Keely she's a model who knows about marketing and PR. She knows the world of British football inside and out. Did you have to do anything specific to prepare for this role, or all Brits obsessed with football?
Well, in my household, I have 2 extraordinary younger brothers. One who actually, when he was about 14, did get scouted to play football professionally, but unfortunately screwed up his knees. Don't worry, he is now doing his PhD at Cambridge University on full scholarship. So it's okay. And the other one is an astrophysicist, or learning to be an astrophysicist at UCL. So studying physics. They are both extraordinary brains, but very sensitive, very artistic and dreamy young men. And my father is a filmmaker and somehow manages to find beauty in every corner of the world at all times. It's extraordinary. So I grew up in a household of very artistic people. My mother also, my mother being the kind of mother hen that made sure we got to talk our thoughts through, and she would help. Anyway, what the point of this is that both of my brothers support Chelsea avidly, and my dad is an Arsenal supporter. So sometimes in my household, you have a beat where you're like, the fuck are you? Who is this person that has taken over my brother or my father? So football was a big part of my life growing up. I am not sadly a diehard football fan, but my God, I love watching my brother and my brothers and my father go through it. I think it's like a religion here.
So no preparation needed. You can slip right into this language.
Well, also what I like about Keely, which she confesses towards the end of season 1, is that she doesn't really care about the game, does she? But she knows how to pretend that she does. So I feel like that has been my life's work. Yeah.
You mentioned this wonderful SAG Award nominated ensemble. You work so well with every member of the cast, from Jason Sudeikis to Brett Goldstein. And you specifically mentioned your moments with Hannah Waddingham, who plays Rebecca. What is it like to share scenes with her? Did you know her before this series started?
I did not. And my life is better for having her in it. Truly, she is. She has really, really helped me with so much in my life. A big thing of being actually less frightened to grow up and become a real woman, I guess, which is a pretty monumental gift to have given me. And getting to work with her I'm in awe of her. I sometimes walk on set and I look at her and I'm like, God, I want to be like you when I grow up. I think she is an inspiration. She is an extraordinary mother, an extraordinary actress, and a truly extraordinary woman. And she is honest, open, and so giving. And I love every single part of her. I am so grateful to have her in my life and to get to work with her. And very grateful to Jason Sudeikis for putting this cast together, because there's not one person that I don't want in my life forever, truly.
Rebecca sort of resists Keely at first. And I love how Keely, she either doesn't know or she doesn't care. And she just plows ahead and is like, we're going to be friends.
And also, I think she's inspired by her. I think she's like, wow, this woman is a badass. Okay, I can learn from this woman. I want to know things from her, and I know that I want to love her, and I know that I want her to love me back. And, Rebecca, I'm sure, as Hannah would say, has got a lot of walls up to begin with, and Keely bulldozes through those quite quickly. Yeah.
I mean, Jason and so many of the other cast members have really strong improvisation backgrounds. Is there much improvising on set, and are you comfortable with that?
I mean, there's a lot of it on set, which I watch and again let happen. I'm sometimes up for I guess on this job more than anything, I've allowed myself to kind of improvise a few times, but I'm nervous too. And I feel like, why would I? The writing's so brilliant. I don't need to. I trust it. I want to learn the lines right. And then if somebody wants to play after we've done the scene, I might try improvising back, but maybe I won't. Because like you said, yes, there are a lot of very talented improv actors on the job.
I mean, you mentioned being known for your dramatic work, things like Atonement and Killer Joe, which I actually find Killer Joe kind of weirdly funny in a way.
Of course, dark humor. I mean, it's William Friedkin. That's completely what he would want it to be. Dark humor.
But, is it challenging to do comedy? Do you find drama easier? It's sort of that eternal question of,
I mean, I don't think I ever find anything entirely easy. I think the minute I find it easy, I should go and try something else. But I think what I was nervous about was the idea of having to do some kind of, slapstick boom boom comedy. And luckily, Jason very quickly said to me, no, I cast you because I want somebody to be human with it. And that's what's going to make it funny. And I really appreciate him for that, and appreciate the moments where I would turn around to him slightly petrified and like a deer in the headlights and be like, I don't know how to do this and be funny. And he would be patient and kind and talk me through it, as would a lot of my co-stars. Again, it's all about reacting. And I've been so lucky to get to do these extraordinary scenes with Jason, with Brendan, with Hannah, with Brett, Phil, with like the Nick Mohammed, Jeremy, all of them are so funny. It's extraordinary. And I think, just sometimes forgetting that we're doing a scene and genuinely just reacting to what they do is just enough for Keely.
My mom loves Jeremy so much. I was just home
genius.
Recently, and she was like, Higgins is on TV because he was on some talk show. And I was like, you really need to learn his name.
He's Jeremy Swift. He's truly a magic human and so brilliant with timing. It's just brilliant. Again, what a cast.
What's been the most challenging part of making the show or playing this role? I mean, I personally would think just not laughing during some of the takes would be hard.
That was going to be my immediate response, is that not screwing up a take when people are so funny that you are like, oh no, if I laugh now, I'm going to ruin their moment. Damn it. And definitely, that's really hard sometimes. And then I guess this year it has been, even though, like I said, I am so grateful and we're so lucky to be working, it's been hard when you really love each other a lot. And we, with COVID, have been, very well taken care of and been kept very safe, but it does mean you can't really throw your arms around each other. And that's been difficult. So again, finding new ways, like with relationships that you romantically are having on camera, to keep that kind of going without actually being able to spend a lot of time together. But that's been kind of a fun challenge. I've enjoyed that. But I'm definitely, excited for the whole world to be able to actually give each other hugs when we can.
I mean, speaking of the pandemic, Ted Lasso sort of dropped near the start of it. And I think people were so craving the kindness of the show, and people responded to it so instantly. Why do you think people have taken to this show and these characters so much?
I mean, have you walked down, any sidewalk in the past kind of 5-10 years and tried smiling at somebody and see what happens? It's an interesting experiment. And I think what people forget is that actually they want more kindness than they think they do. They don't want, to have somebody put their head down when they walk past them. And I think there's, in the past, or at least as long as I can remember being alive, there have been lots of doors being closed, and that leaves way for judgment, for disrespect, and for ignorance, and just the bad sides of humanity, and being a human is a privilege, isn't it? And so actually kindness is key. So is curiosity. So is empathy. And so is just knowledge in general. All of those things are important, And I think this show really reminded people that you shouldn't judge books by their cover, because you don't know who they are until you get to know them,
Do you find working on this show, and in particular playing this character, do you find yourself sort of happier because you've played so many dark characters, so many serious roles? I would think that would be a hard headspace to shake off at the end of the day.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, people always tease me about on my method. I'm like, God, if I was really method, I think I'd be dead 10 times over. But but yeah, I am a little method. I can't help it, and I think I need to do some dark as well as I need to do some light. But I will say during this time, Keely's really helped with my mental health for sure, because I can battle with that. I can battle with getting low, and I can battle with self-hatred and I think Keely's really helped me not to sink into that hole. And I'm really grateful to her for that.
I mean, you're so young, and yet you've already amassed this series of really iconic roles. I'm curious, what has been the most challenging? I mean, I look at Killer Joe, and I think of how difficult that must be, or something like Afternoon Delight. And then I look at Maleficent, and I just think, working with special effects is its own problem.
Yeah, I mean, God, I think each one has had its challenge, and each one has left such a beautiful mark on me. I feel like I have learned so much from the characters that I've played, and I think it's interesting looking sometimes at some of the jobs you've done, because I don't love watching myself. I'm not great at that, but just remembering the jobs that you did, and they sort of pinpoint moments of your life, and they pinpoint where you were going, because I did start young, and so I sort of grew up doing it, and I'm still growing up. It's funny, I feel like Killer Joe was probably 12 years ago or something now.
Really?
And so it was a long time ago, maybe 12 years ago. Yeah. And because of that movie, I think there was this BAFTA Rising Star Award that I won at that time, which, again, what a moment, but what I think is so great about it is it's the rising star, and I still feel like I'm rising, and I hope I just continue to do that. I'm not interested in doing this to be a sort of, I don't know, a fame stuff scares me. I think I would be bad at that. And I think, it's interesting with Ted Lasso. I've done a lot of work, but a lot of stuff that only maybe 5 people have seen. So it's newer for me to be a part of something that a lot of people have seen. And there's something really lovely about the fact that it's a character that people are taking away as a really good person. I feel like it's really lovely to be playing somebody that people feel like they would like in their lives. I feel like that's an honor. But I think, I don't know, the most challenging, I did this film called Magic in southern Chile that Sebastian Silva, brilliant filmmaker, directed. And I had to jump off a cliff into a lake in the middle of the night, wearing a full tracksuit and a raincoat with a taxidermy parrot in my pocket. And I mean, the situations one finds oneself in sometimes, and I'm a strong believer, when you sign on to a job, you know exactly what you're going to have to do. So don't shy away from it. But I remember the first take where they were like, action, and I ran to the edge, and it was a cliff that during the day we'd rehearsed it because I had to propel myself far enough to not hit some rocks. Like, it was definitely it was a thing. And I remember stopping, being like, oh my God. And I turned around, and at the time, my boyfriend at the time had come to visit me. I clocked eyes with him, and he just gave me this nod, and I was like, cool, okay, I can do this. And just ran and did it. And that was a challenging moment. That was a challenging moment.
I also have to point out, you were in a movie this year called Palmer that I loved, absolutely loved. And once again, you do this amazing, very specific American accent. Why is it you Brits are so good at American accents?
Maybe because it's a fascination. I don't know. It's a fascination about how you can change yourself and convince yourself that you're somebody else. And an accent is a big part of that. Your costume, your hair, your makeup, the way you hold yourself, the way you walk into a room, those things are monumental. So accents to me are just a huge part of, because, acting is all about convincing yourself so that you then convince other people that you are this other person. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, Southern is one of my all-time most favorite accents ever to do. I love playing Southern.
Do you work with a coach, or do you pick it up from movies?
I have worked with coaches in the past, but I haven't in a long time, actually. The last time I worked with an accent coach, dialect coach, was in a film called Black Mass to do a Boston accent. I mean, that was difficult. That was the toughest accent I've ever had to do.
I was actually going to bring up Black Mass because, Bostonians are very specific about their accents, and you actually got a lot of praise for nailing it.
I know I did, but that's because I did not stray a word from the script. Literally, the dialect coach, we did everything, and I did not even whisper, probably even breathe anything that wasn't written. I was terrified with that accent.
Wow. For good reason. It's one of the toughest ones to do, I've been told.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you're working on season 2 of Ted Lasso right now.
Yes, we are.
Desperately need soon. Can you give us any hints? What's ahead for Keeley this season?
Sadly, no. I cannot give away anything other than just her looks are just getting even better and better. Like my wardrobe and hair and makeup in this season is just killer. I can't bear it. It's so exciting. But really excited for this season to come out. And I'm so excited that we've been making it and we've still got, you know, a little bit more to go. I'm just dreading it ending, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm excited for the world to see it, and hopefully people enjoy it still.
I mean, you're already picked up for a third season, so you'll be back. Yeah.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
Well, I literally cannot wait to see where the story goes. I can't wait to see where Keely goes. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, congratulations on really, despite the pandemic, a wonderful year.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And again, I'm so grateful that people are enjoying it. And it's a pleasure to be playing Keely. And I encourage everybody, if they're passionate about acting, to go do it. And I am so grateful to all the actors that inspired me to do it. So thank you for talking to me today.